I'm Gustav Parker Hibbett. I'm a final year PhD in the School of English and an early career researcher in the Trinity Long Room Hub. And my debut poetry collection, High Jump as Icarus Story, has just been shortlisted for the T.S. Eliot Prize. Initially, I was just kind of shocked. Like, it's not something that you can really expect or plan for, especially with a first collection. So I think there were just a couple days where I was like, really just reeling and thinking about what it would mean for me and my career. And then I think I just have moved into feeling so grateful and excited and almost a sense of relief. Because I think writing's a career that's sort of hard to make it in or to kind of keep funding or justifying. But this feels like this vote of confidence that means that I'm going to have access to the resources and communities that will make it that much more possible for me to continue a writing career. So I kind of obsessively did the sport of high jump in track and field when I was in secondary school. And it was this almost buoyant thing for me that I think I got to relate to in a really different way than I was relating to a lot of spaces in my life. I think as a Black and queer body, I think I was sort of taught not to trust my body and its instincts and to sort of that it was something to be controlled or tamed. And when I was high jumping, trusting my body was the only thing. I grew this sort of somatic knowledge of how to jump, of the technique, what I needed to look like in the air, and my body knew it better than I did in so many ways. And that ended up being, this really weird reverse of a lot of spaces. And it was this healing space of creative expression where I was flying, essentially. And then when I went to college, I went to a school where I wasn't quite jumping the height that I needed to be to jump on the team or to walk on. I was 2 inches short. And it really broke me in a lot of ways, or I was really upset. I don't think I realized just how important it had been to me until I lost it. But then I think very quickly in my college experience, I found my way to writing, and then kind of from writing in general to poetry. And I think I related to poetry in much the same way, that there was this almost sort of innate knowledge that I was tapping into of how language should sound and look like and move. And so I think I wanted to use that to go back and think about what high jump was to me, what it meant to me during those years, and kind of write poems partially as a way to kind of get myself close to it again. But yeah, as this very, this sort of meeting of creative disciplines, I guess. One thing that weirdly was kind of huge in my process when I was putting together the collection, as I was trying to become a better poet and get better at kind of capturing certain things, was I think this weird process of analyzing, I guess, knowing my weaknesses, knowing what I wasn't good at. So for a while I was I don't know how to write a prose poem for the life of me. It's just, that form doesn't work. And so I would kind of set myself these puzzles almost, where I was this is the form you need to write in, or this is the type of language that you need to use. This is the kind of sound you needed to have. And then kind of try to work from there. And I found it to be this really productive space. And there were certain things where I think at the end of sort of the experimentation there, I ended up sort of being better in some of the spaces that I was weak in initially than I was at my initial strengths. I think my parents actually, they, I think, had been sort of initially quite resistant to me pursuing a creative career. My mom's a pastry chef, so she does have a creative career, but I think they wanted me to be, financially stable and stuff. So I think I really started developing my writing, like later, after college, more in grad school was when I think I kind of got into trying really hard to pursue it as a career. And that also kind of meant that my parents didn't really get to see that, or that felt so separated from them. But I don't know, it's been kind of amazing to have them read the collection and be excited about my writing and the early success I'm finding in this space of writing. Yeah, it's been, I don't know, really amazing. Just that sort of personal support from my parents. It's lovely. I think kind of aligned with that idea of working on weaknesses. I think I also had this process of borrowing voices or trying to animate myself in other people's voices, and I would never really end up writing exactly like them. It would just sort of bring a little bit more nuance or texture to my own voice. It would sort of get amalgamated into the way that I thought and moved. But yeah, there were a lot of poets who I would kind of read, and just writers in general who I would read and then go back and try to write, keeping the sort of rhythm of their language in my head. I don't know, people like Diane Seuss, I think, has this really distinct rhythm, or Ada Limon. Victoria Chong was another big one. I think Maggie Nelson, Carl Phillips, Anne Carson also, I think, in a lot of her writing has this very distinct tone or momentum to her language. And yeah, I think so. In a lot of ways, it felt like this weird, I would animate myself with their voices, kind of try to get the momentum of their language, and it would enhance and bring out more texture or other sides of my language, I guess. I think just creating that space where they're able to trust themselves, where creating a page that allows them to, I think, be their full, complex, nuanced self, that sort of listens to and trusts you first, and kind of moving from that stability outwards. Yeah, I think that's been really important to me, and I think that has been this really important sort of security that has allowed me to kind of move outwards from myself with my writing. Yeah, it can be sort of counter, it can kind of push back to maybe writing norms or the ways that other people might want or expect you to write. But I think, to me, it feels like the most important aspect of someone's writing, especially in poetry, is kind of this ability to trust themselves or find a space where they are first and foremost trusting themselves and allowing themselves to, I think, organically think as they think.